Welcome to Beneath the Surface, a new web series highlighting the incredible humans making the world a more mentally fit and healthy place. My name is Luciana Carvalho Sé. I'm the co-founder and chief marketing officer of MindCheck. We're building a digital platform driving the 360 holistic assessment and understanding of mental health, both for individuals and enterprise. So in today's inaugural episode, we're going to be chatting to world-renowned coach, life coach, and business strategist, Simon Alexander Wong. Simon helps leaders, entrepreneurs, and organizations transcend perceived limitations and unlock more meaningful, extraordinary lives. He's been featured on Forbes, the BBC, Harvard Business Review, Financial Times, Huffington Post, amongst others, and worked with the likes of Virgin, DocuSign, Enterprise Nation, and more. He's also a new baby daddy and a soon-to-be-published author. Our series will touch upon three different areas and questions. One is the self. What is your journey? How did you get to where you did, particularly as it relates to mental health? The collective. What is your legacy? What is the biggest impact and your legacy that you're creating in society? And the future. What is the future that you're helping shape? What would you like for it to be? So with no further ado, let's dive straight in. Very grateful to have you with us, Simon.
Thank you, Luciana, for having me.
Of course, yeah, pleasure. So can you tell us a little bit more about you and how you got to where you are today? The whole
Sure. So it's 2006, summer of 2006, and I get a call from a company based in Canary Wharf. And I'm really looking forward to this call because what happened in the previous few years, I had lost my mum, unfortunately. She passed away after slipping into a coma. I failed my second year of university, and so I had to resit a year. A 3-year degree became a 4-year degree. So after experiencing some of these events, I was very much looking for this call, which I kind of knew what it was going to be about. And it was going to tell me whether I had secured a job after graduation. And so I got this call and I was told, Simon, congratulations, we want to offer you a contract for a permanent role with our company. And I was jubilant. I was so happy about this. Unfortunately, this would be the starting date of this new career would be a year before the global financial crisis. The industry would be in the financial services industry. And the company was Lehman Brothers. So if you remember what happened in September 2008, Lehman Brothers went bankrupt. They went into administration. So that was my first full year in employment, a very surreal start into the world of finance. However, looking back, I think it was a blessing in disguise, because if it wasn't for those moments early in my career of the recession happening, it wouldn't have forced me to think about what I really wanted to do. Because up until that point, life for me was kind of linear in the sense that my parents had always said to me, Simon, it doesn't matter what career you begin, as long as you are a banker, a doctor, a lawyer, or an accountant. So my field of success was fairly narrow to those 4 job titles. Wow. And so when this recession happened, I was lost. I didn't know what to do. I thought I had just made a whole hash of this whole thing and I wouldn't be successful. I wouldn't know what I would do next. But actually, it sparked a period of self-discovery. Rather than think about what I should be doing, what success meant to me based on other people's expectations and thoughts, I was able to take a step back and think what I really wanted to do. What success meant to me, what impact I wanted to have, and what fulfillment looked like. And that really was the beginning of this entrepreneurial journey, from transitioning out of the financial services industry as an employee to an entrepreneur today. It wasn't easy. It was a roller coaster of a ride. It's not an easy switch, as anyone I think who's moved from employment to entrepreneurship can attest to. But a phrase comes to mind that goes, when we do what most won't, we will be able to enjoy what most can't. And it showed me that we often underestimate what can be achieved in 5+ years. Since that transition, it's been a crazy adventure. I've moved into the coaching world. I coach individuals, I coach organizations, I speak at events and conferences. and run online projects, whether that's communities, working with brands, to positively impact the lives that I'm privileged to serve.
Wow. What would you say is your why? Kind of what led you to that mission of serving?
Sure. I think for me, the reason I do what I do is something that I call legacy, legacy-based values. Too many of us, I think, focus on resume-based values. But legacy-based values is thinking what sort of impact you want to have at the end of your life. You know, when you get to the end of your life and you look back, what do you want to be known for? What sort of impact do you want to have? And for me, legacy was about transformation. It was, I had gone through a particular journey, I'd overcome certain challenges. And if I could share some of that story, if I could impact someone else's life with what I'm learning, that to me was the greatest reward. To see them see their own world, to see themselves through new perspective, and therefore take on new action. To accept the challenge of being better than who they were yesterday. That was the spark for me. It still is. Obviously, that vision will evolve over time. For now, for me, it's scaling that. It's, well, I've done X. How can I do X plus or X squared? You know, how can I grow that sort of impact? And that's what drives me. It's reading the feedback. It's reading the stories of people that have gone on to achieve great things, whether that is a client who's appeared in the Forbes 30 under 30 list, a client that's spoken at the United Nations event on women's education, whether it's someone that's gone on to impact the lives of those in Africa by partnering with brands to raise funds to make things accessible to those who can't access some basic things that we take for granted.
Incredible legacy already. So what would you say were your biggest actionable tips or advice when it comes to mental health, particularly in 2020?
Sure. For me, well, the first thing that comes to mind to me about addressing our mental health is you've got to take care of you first. You can't truly help others in the way you would like to unless you are helping yourself first. There's a great analogy that comes to mind, and if you've taken flights, you'll be able to relate to this analogy. Before the plane takes off, there's a health and safety video or health and safety demonstration. And what they say to you is that when the oxygen masks come down, put your own mask on first and then tend to others. Now, if you don't put your oxygen mask on first and you tend to others first, there's only so many people you can tend to before you run out of oxygen, before you yourself pass away. But if you put your oxygen mask on first, you can help as many people as you want because you have the energy, you have the capacity, you have the ability to do so. And so I think it begins with self-care. You know, how much time are you dedicating to take care of you? You are your greatest asset. You are the greatest asset, whether you're running a business, whether you are looking to move up the career ladder, whether you're looking to make progress in any part of your life, you are your greatest asset. So that's the first thing, is think about what can you do for yourself? How can you make you more of a priority? Second is physical health. For me, that's been a game changer. What I mean by that is putting our physical health first. So I don't call habits habits, I call the habits I embrace non-negotiable. Because the reason they were non-negotiable is that they're not up for discussion. So every morning I begin each day with a workout. And that puts my mental state in such an optimal condition to take on whatever challenges come my way during the day. It's also scientifically proven to be the quickest way to raise your energy. So if you're feeling low on energy, you go for a walk or you cycle or you go to the gym for a good workout and you sweat it out, you come back feeling entirely different, rewired in your mind and happier, more energized. So for me, it's addressing your physical health. And as cliche as it sounds, there's a lot of truth in it. Health literally is the first wealth. Without your health, you can't do much else. So that's the second there.
Love that.
Third, for me, is environment. It's to reflect on your environment. And I'll explain more what I mean in a minute about environment, but here's the essence of it. Your environment is either draining you or it is energizing you. It is either making you feel negative or it is making you feel positive. It is either keeping you where you are, or it is showing you what is possible for you and your future. That is the power of environment. And I often get asked, what is the quickest way to progress, to succeed in any area of our life and business? And it is this: design an environment that makes it impossible not to succeed. And as a byproduct of that, you have better mental health. Think about this for a moment. Imagine you are around people who are full of energy, who energize you, who show you what's possible, who encourage you, who give you support, who create the space for you to share your challenges. Imagine you are reading books or reading magazines or reading content that contributes to a better state of mind rather than negativity. Imagine you have a physical environment around you that is organized, that promotes clarity of mind. Imagine what can be possible from this space. And that is the power of environment.
I love that. Yeah, we are. I mean, my parents used to always say, if there was a disorganized mess in my room, they'd be like, okay, that's a reflection of what's happening inwardly, you know? Or maybe I'm just, no, I'm joking.
It's funny when we think about that, because I've never met anyone who's decluttered or who has organized and tidied their space, who's then gone on to say, well, I really regret tidying up my room or tidying up my home. Yeah. In fact, I don't know anyone who's regretted it. They've always done it. And whenever I catch up with them, they always speak about the benefits. I feel so nice to have a clean space again, to have a space to think.
Absolutely. And lastly, what does the future hold for you beyond 2020? What is it? I know you've just got a book deal, and what is it, or what would your legacy be in 5, 10, 20 years time? What would you
Definitely. So I think if you asked me before, Luciana, if you asked me before coronavirus what my legacy would be, it would be very much sort of professionally focused. As you said just now, I recently signed a book deal with Penguin to work on my first book. So that for me is about sharing a lot of my lessons, a lot of my ideas with a greater audience, so that it can have an impact in the way I would love for it to have an impact. Yeah. Other sort of visions I had pre-coronavirus would be having my business impact more people, taking from the work I do and expanding it either through online, through international platforms. And that is continuing, that's growing. But during lockdown, I became a parent. My wife and I gave birth to our first child. And so now my legacy changes a little bit. Yeah. So from a personal point of view, another bow to my legacy, if you will, is to raise quality children, to give them the education, to give them the insights, to give them the lessons I had only at a very late stage of my life. And it reminds me of something that Richard Branson answered when he was asked, Richard, you are going to pass away at some point in your life. We all will. How should we judge your legacy? Should we judge it by the success of Virgin, about what you've accomplished with Virgin? And Richard said, no. Richard said, don't judge me by the success of Virgin in my legacy. Judge me by the quality of my children. And I love that. And I didn't get it until I became a father myself. But now I very much understand why he said that. Because our children are the link to the future. They're the link between generations. And that to me has deepened my why. It's deepened my vision. It's given me more motivation than ever before to think not just bolder, but on a galactic level. To realize that the only limit we have to accomplish the things we want to accomplish, to leave the legacy we want to leave, to manifest the vision we want to, is ourselves. Yeah. There is no limit. It's like Bruce Lee said, use no limit as limit.
Yeah, exactly. When you put a ceiling, it's only, everything's in our minds. What we can achieve. We can achieve, we can create. And I think that's a wonderful way to raise a human being, where anything is possible, nothing, the whole Nike, nothing is impossible. Everything is possible. But what are the biggest, we were talking about lockdown and this idea that normal was the past normal, quote unquote, was not normal. Nothing about the world as we're living was actually good
Mm,
for us. And I love that you reflected on the fact that your vision of your legacy changed slightly from just
mm.
predominantly professional to also personal, quite
Mm.
quite significantly. And congratulations again.
Thank you.
Um, but I'd love to, we can end on a couple of thoughts on what were the biggest lessons for you from lockdown and from coronavirus and the craziness that's happening in the world. And as we create this new paradigm shift, which is not the new normal, it is a blank canvas for us to create this beautiful
Mm,
reality and the beautiful world
yeah.
that our children will live in. What kind of lessons do you want to take into the future?
Sure. I think the biggest lesson that's come out of this recent period of lockdown, and it's fascinating because, in the recent years, one, I went through the financial crisis very directly.
Mm,
The last global crisis, which was the sort of global financial crisis, the recession caused by the banking industry, and that affected me very directly. And recently, with coronavirus, I do a lot of speaking, and so all the speaking events were cancelled or postponed because there's no in-person events anymore. Uh, so a lesson from this recent experience, even more on the back of what happened in the financial crisis, is this idea of adaptability, this sort of trait, if you will, of being flexible and being adaptable. Charles Darwin noted it best in his book, The Theory of Evolution. It is not the strongest or most intelligent that survive, it is the most adaptable. And I thought about this over this recent lockdown period, and there are times when I am grateful for challenges like this lockdown period, because I realized that in our hardest, our darkest times lies the wisdom, the teachers, and the insights that will help us create the best times of our lives. When I look back at my mum passing away, that taught me the fragility of life. It made me grateful for life. It made me want to fulfill the things that I never thought was possible, because now I saw how short life was. So that gave me the gratitude for that lesson. When I failed my second year of university and had to repeat that, it gave me the gratitude for the fact that I can access education, that I can access university quality of education. When I experienced a financial crisis, when I was out of a job from the financial industry, my first job in this new career, it gave me the gratitude for the insight that I had there, for the lessons I learned from the self-discovery period of what I really wanted to do. And so all of this stuff, I think there is always a lesson in adversity if we are ready to look for it. And that's one of the key takeaways I took from this recent lockdown.
Beautiful. I hope that, it is all about perspective. And I love this, the quote as Anna's Nin, that we don't see the world as it is, we see it as we are. So it depends on our reality and our perspective. And
Totally. And
it's
I
a
think,
yeah.
yeah, I think one of the superpowers we often forget that we all have inside of us is the ability to choose one thought over another at any given moment. We all have that ability because we live in a feeling of our thinking moment to moment to moment. And when you choose a new thought, that changes your customized reality and therefore changes the action you take and the beliefs that you have for yourself.
Oh, I mean, I could stay here and talk to you forever, but but sadly, we have to wrap up. Are there any extra final thoughts and kind of tips or advice that you say that you think would be most helpful for people to think about?
Definitely. If you want to take away some actionable steps right now, I think one of the great habits you can embrace, if you are not already embracing it already, is journaling. Journaling is a great way to manage your mental health, because the reason we feel stressed a lot of the times is because we think about our thinking about our thinking about our thinking. And we can get so caught up in here, and it becomes such a weight on our everyday. But if we have a medium to take this and download it onto paper, if you will, and I recommend the analog format, so not digital, but actually pen and paper. When we put it down pen to paper, what happens, it allows us to organize our thoughts. It allows us to explore our thinking in a way that we can't if we just keep it up here. So journaling, I think, is a great habit to embrace if you're looking for an activity to start right now.
Yeah, I've given that tip, yeah, also during lockdown. So I would reinforce that especially when going through intense anxiety attacks or crises, actually physically going through the process of, you know, in a metaphorical way, writing everything down, even if it's not a physical journal, but a piece of paper, and sort of downloading whatever is up here, as you said, on a piece of paper and putting it out of sight. It's it is that physical, metaphorical manifestation of taking whatever is in here, dumping it down into a physical piece of paper and putting it out of mind. So you're going through the process of release. And if we're talking about energy before, it is downloading that negative energy outside of your body. I think it's yeah, I would underline that. And thank you so much. It's been fantastic talking to you, and we'll include all of the links to your work and links for folks to get to know a little bit more about you. But yeah, very grateful to have you with us today, Simon.
Fantastic, and thank you very much for having me on.